Hey, we are here on the Jankyard to record the top four game between No Such Method and the Treatment in the pod qualifier. You've got Killer Cactus on the mic tonight doing commentary. Just me. Um, Many thanks to Schmendrix for setting up the recording for this. His children really want some toast, and hopefully he is providing that toast currently for them. But while he's doing that, we're going to watch some top four action here. We've got the Treatment on Herald, Charm Divine Sympathy Time against No Such Method on Dimona, Ceremonial, Divine, and Charm. The Treatment is playing a Herald deck that he, Schmendrix, and I all played in this pod event. We built it together and played it together. Each made our own little tweaks, kind of like we did last time. The thing went 7-2 between the three of us in pod, so it did very well. And the two losses were close. So I think it's a very strong deck. It's very control oriented with some mill backup, and No Such Method I think is on a Dimona Fallen here. That did really well in the pod rounds as well. So kind of your classic Dimona no good choices Fallen deck. Either let her have the mount or let her have the Fallen tokens. So we're gonna get going here. Looks like first fives have been chosen. Treatment going first, dropping the Wing Lioness book off the top. This Herald deck's got a lot of stalking in it. So between Hunter's Mark, Wing Lioness, very good at controlling the battlefield through good attack trades. I would think Dimona is going to want to rely on her zombies here rather than her mounts, as Herald's good at dealing with the mounts. And right off the bat with an Open Memories after meditating up the charm power, I'm assuming to grab a second Fallen book to get two Fallen books online round one. Dropping the 3-out owl. Herald just kind of laying books out here to get started. We'll see if Treatment does the Essence Druid start where he can play two owls. That is an open that this Herald can do to push the mill pressure early as Dimona gets a Fallen book out. This Dimona is going to take a little bit of time to set up here with Open Memories and a couple of books. So, but the Herald deck's not very fast, so Dimona should be able to take advantage of that. We do see a Wing Lioness hit the board. I like that play early to get the Wing Lioness out to control any allies that do come out that he really wants to remove. Dimona dropping the Fallen book, and then Herald slams an owl in response. Looks like that owl revealed a Shepherd of Lost Souls, so there's a Shepherd in hand for Dimona. And she goes Ritualist into a Chant of Transfusion. So the Chant active as well. Probably an old. I wonder if there's an Old Salt coming. Old Salt plus Shepherd, plus potentially a mount. That leaves a couple dice left, maybe one die left over for a dice power or something, or maybe a backup plan to recur an ally if they need to. We'll see what Herald's going to do here. Going Beast Tamer, so this doesn't look like the Druid start. Well, it still could be. But if it is the Druid start, we can't play two owls. But I like the Beast Tamer against Fallen here. That alert tame unit really kind of helps shut Fallen down. Lightbringer book and then Crystal Archer quickly. So Herald taking the initiative here. This Dimona, like I said, is going to take some time to set all these books up, and Herald's built a pretty big board quickly. So here's a Lightbringer. Let's see what Herald sends into attack. I don't think he'll want to give Dimona Fallen tokens yet. So this will be an interesting attack. I wonder if he goes Lioness into the Lightbringer here. Let's see. Guessing that last card in hand for Herald's probably a Sonic Swordsman. And Dimona still has that shepherd, I guess, in hand. So a lot of dice left over for either Mounts or Fallen. And maybe meditating out some cards to try and find an ally to recur with the shepherd. Treatment in the tank, a little bit about what to attack with. Going to go Crystal Archer into the Lightbringer and take out the Ritualist. So he's going to allow the tokens here. That's going to let the shepherd bring back the Ritualist. And Chant of Transfusion could be the main action here. Let's see. You know, we're going to go Fallen. That makes more sense. And meditating up to get that shepherd in play next turn. So 2 Fallen books. I would expect to see the Swordsman come down pretty soon here. Another alert body is good against the Fallen, but we're going to take one out first with the Lioness. So zombie goes down. See if Dimona transfuses to take one of these 2-life units out. Not yet. There's the Shepherd. Going to pick up that Ritualist, I think. Yeah. So that gives Dimona 2 more dice to spend this round if she wants to put Ritualist out with a second Chant of Transfusion. And Harold's going to meditate up for the Sonic. There's the Sonic. So again, alert units very good against Fallen. So treatment could be planning to take the allies out here and just trust his big, beefy alert guys to deal with all the zombies. But let's see how Dimona responds. This is a big threatening board that Harold has out right now. Still hasn't used Hunter's Mark, so he can use that with the Sonic Swordsman to get an extra exhaust if he likes. So Shepard's going to go into the Crystal Archer here. This will probably catch a guard from Harold. Depending on how treatment wants to sequence the rest of this round out. Yeah, there's the guard. So we might see a pass here. And we did. We got a pass from treatment. Content to just sit here with the big board, knowing that if Dimona mounts up the Shepherd, he can just take it out with a Sonic Swordsman and exhaust the Fallen. Although that will allow Dimona to kill the Sonic with a transfusion of one of the wounds onto the Sonic after it takes 3 from the mount counter. And Dimona still with a Ritualist in hand. So let's see what she wants to do. Not sure what I like more here. I feel like I want to get rid of that Sonic Swordsman, but the other option, I guess, is mounting up. Harold can mark and kill the mount with a Beast Tamer. That'll also survive, but I think leaves the Beast Tamer vulnerable to be picked off by the 1/1s. So I'm not sure that's great either. A couple different options here. No Such is going to take out this Crystal Archer with the Fallen while they can. I think that's a good threat to remove from the board. Looks like another pass from the treatment. I apologize, everybody. I'm doing this on an iPad, so I don't have the chat open in order to conserve some space. So there's the mount, and again, if treatment just kills it with the Sonic Swordsman or the Beast Tamer, he's going to lose one of these allies. Because No Such can just play the Ritualist or use the Transfusion to kill whatever ally that Harold sends into this mount. So treatment's now got to decide how they want to do this, and they need to do it. He needs to do it now. Otherwise, the mount's going to get a swing off and can even choose the owl to block and make sure that owl gets off the board. But instead, we're going to go Sonic at Fallen with the mark. So we're gonna do it that way. Exhaust out the mount with the swordsman. That's a good play. That's going to save both allies here. It does. It basically trades one of Treatment's allies or one of Harold's allies for Demona's mount, surviving till the next round. That's probably a good deal for Harold, as I think both allies are worth a little more than that Empyrean mount. There's the Ritualist. Went and got another transfusion into hand. Beast Tamer is going to swing in and be guarded. And that Ritualist is going to get to take this Lioness out. Oh no, going to go with the Owl. Do one to that and maybe transfuse. So potentially valuing the Owl higher than the Lioness here. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. So it's an interesting play. No Such realizing that he's already down 8 cards. Or I'm sorry, 6 cards, 5 cards, down 5 cards going into this second round, and that Owl would just push that mill win con. So Harold looking with a nice board here. Ahead on board and cards going into the second round. That's what this Harold wants to do. So good there, but Dimona also keeping an Imperium mount in play in round 2, so also good for them. Starting off with a transfusion and going to swing the mount in and force a block here. Let's see what. Yeah, we're going to force the Lioness block, which keeps the mount alive. So now that sets up the transfusion to be able to be used. See how Harold wants to deal with this. I think probably okay with trading that Lioness in there for the 2 damage from Harold's side, especially if they have like a Return to Soil or a Violinist in hand to finish it off. There's the Soil. Oh, but gonna take out the Ritualist instead. This is interesting. This loads up all the chance and everything. Takes out a Phoenix Attendant from the discard. That's huge. And a Shepherd to be able to recur those allies. But I'm not sure I like loading all those chants up, especially when you have 2 wounds waiting on the Empyrean mount to be transferred back over onto Harold's board. I know giving him the mount back, or killing the mount gives him a Shepherd back as well, which maybe he didn't want to do. Only a Ritualist in the discard to recur right now, though. So here's a Lightbringer. That's going to force one of these 2 good defensive units to attack. This is a good Lightbringer. Exhaust one of the alert guys. But I think as Harold, I guess I don't know. You probably could have waited on the Return to Soil to take out the mount later in the round since it's already exhausted and got a Lioness on the board in order to be the attacker when this Lightbringer hits. But I guess if your idea was get rid of the Ritualist, then if your idea was get rid of the Ritualist, then I suppose you want to do it earlier. They're going to go with a Duelist here and attack into the Lightbringer to take it down. That's an interesting play. I might have killed the mount, but just to save the Duelist and force No Such to commit more resources to take out that Duelist. But I guess he could have swung the Lightbringer into the Duelist, and then you're pressuring guard anyway. But I guess in that case, you still make the you have an exhausted Lightbringer on the board rather than an exhausted Mount with 2 wounds on it. So I don't know. Maybe I would have attacked there, but we'll see how it works out. Either way, it is good. It's a good play to save the alert units. So this way, keeping both alert units on the board unexhausted, ready to deal with attackers. And if the strategy is to go ahead and let them fill up the board with zombies, then you want the alert defenders up and ready to block. Speaking of the zombies, here they come. 2 of them. We're seeing some more meditation from No Such. Down to 10 cards in deck already. So Herald up 9 cards now. And again, this Herald is very battlefield control and mill oriented. So it's going to want to control the battlefield and pressure that fatigue damage late game. And there's the Owl, which is very good at doing that. Herald is up a few behind a few dice here. That duelist play costing a couple of dice. And also, Sympathy die to draw a card for Herald. That's interesting. Must have a bit of a rough hand not being able to spend all these dice, especially considering they have a basic sync left over in the Lioness. That's an interesting play. Dimona sending a Fallen in here to attack the Sonic. You got to think a Fester is coming after this. But, well, I don't know. I mean, they could always just... They could use Transfusion if they had Fester, so maybe that's a bait. I'm not sure. That was an interesting attack. Into the alert Sonic Swordsman. Herald meditating up a Charm die. And playing Return to Soil. Taking out the other Fallen. Gets a Grave Knight on the mill. And let's see what he purges here from the discard pile. Return to Soil, a big card. Against these ally recursion decks with Shepherds and Ceremonial Dice. So hits a Wayward Knight and a Grave Knight there on the purge. Not quite as lucky as last time when they got the Phoenix Attendant, but keeping this discard pile of Dimona pretty thin here. Just a Ritualist and an Old Salt there to recur. So back to Herald, ahead 3 dice right now in the round, but quite behind on board. So there's a Ceremonial Power to get back a Ritualist. Takes a damage, goes ahead and grabs the 3rd Transfusion. So soon we will have all 3 Transfusions set up. Although we haven't seen it do much so far. I'm surprised we haven't seen the transfusing of those wounds off of the Mount. It does have 2 recover, so it will recover those off if they're still there at the end of the round. And I don't know if No Such... I'll get him. I don't know if Dimona plays Blood Brawl. Could be saying that up, but there's a transfusion as a main action. So just transfuse and pass. So again, no Fester here. You see one sitting on the top of his discard pile, just one in the bin so far. But you'd think if they had the Fester, they could have played it earlier. Looks like Herald's making an attack here. Or at least thinking about it. Taking the Sonic into a Ritualist. Threatening to double exhaust the Mount. And does so. Ritualist goes down. Again, loads up the Fallen books. Sonic exhausted with 2 wounds. I wonder if Treatment expected a Fester there and just wanted to get value out of his Sonic. Maybe thought that No Such didn't Fester because of, I can't remember if there was a snake die up earlier trying to dodge the Golden Veil. But Treatment still has a Lioness and an Owl waiting to be played. A couple more Meditates here, a Transfusion and a Phoenix Attendant, both from hand, to make some Ceremonial Dice and get out some Fallen. So I wonder if there's a Shepherd coming. And another Owl book from Harold. Can't play all the Owls this turn. And a side action to put a Divine Power on that Owl. This is interesting. So that last card in hand, probably not playable. If all we have left is enough to play a Lioness and an Owl here for Harold. Staring down some zombies. Oh, and No Such has a Meteor. This is a good Meteor. So that's why he wanted the 1 damage on the Sonic earlier. Setting up that Meteor play to be able to wipe the board. So that's a good Meteor, but I think Harold is okay with this. Ahead on life and dice and cards if you're Harold. So I mean, it's a board wipe. You lost a bunch of stuff. But really you're still ahead the status quo of the game. So again, Harold can just on board, he has a Lioness and an Owl. And I apologize if you guys can hear the dog rumble going on in the background. I'm dog sitting and they're rumbling. These two like to go at it. Owl from Harold and meditates up for what I assume to be the Lioness. Only losing a little bit of that card advantage. Well, here's the Old Salt and the Transfusion to take out the Owl. Oops, it looks like we have a backwards Transfusion there. I'm going to guess they're going to fix this. And manual. There we go. That's a really good Old Salt. The Lioness is not going to be able to kill this Old Salt. And Harold's guard is down, so I expect to see a Lioness come down here. The Old Salt take it out with an attack, and then Dimona going into round 3 with a 1 wound Old Salt on the board and Harold with nothing. But let's see what happens. But again, Harold ahead 6 cards in the mill race. And that bodes well for the mill deck. There's the Lioness. Oh, Hunter's Mark. There we go. That's all right. So I forgot about Hunter's Mark. So now we're going to trade. Nice play there from Treatment. So wipes out the Old Salt, does charge up the Fallen books. But with the chance both exhausted, we don't charge those up. So not a bad time to kill an ally. And No Such rolling 6 basics here is rough. Already behind 6 cards to the Mill Herald. And 6 basics is tough. And there's a Magic Siphon from Harold, which is going to make this worse. Again, both players, nothing on the board, right? So this is a good time to play Magic Siphon. You don't lose a lot of tempo. here because you don't have any threats to currently respond to, and you're only spending 1 die. So treatment choosing to spin up his time die and down on the divine. So if gonna have to meditate to play a Lightbringer. And yeah, no such commenting in the chat that he's rolled a ton of basics this game, and he has. And this is not the matchup in which you want to roll a ton of basics. Fire Archer comes down, going to do a ping damage and spend one of those non-basic ceremonial dice to do that. But we'll set up an ally to either generate some more fallen tokens or be a mount target. And we'll see how Harold responds to that. 3 owl books out now too is really rough. Harold can put out some efficient O2 bodies here that can tank a couple of 1/1 hits each. And if they're not dealt with, are going to really pressure the cards again on the Luna side. Hey. Oh, let's see what the other dog's barking at. Everything. Hey, shh.
Same with the dogs. People.
No, there's people walking outside, so dogs are going to bark. So I'm going to go somewhere where there's no dogs. Okay, I'm going to go downstairs. All right, we're going to try and escape the dogs. As Harold puts an owl onto the battlefield. So again, I like this. Play these O2s into the 1/1s. Tough for them to deal with. And the owl did peek at a calamity golem from hand. No such saying. He can't play the thing because he doesn't have any ceremonial dice. So here's the Lightbringer to force the owl attack. I think treatment's okay with this. I mean, you're going to exhaust the owl, but it's not a huge deal to have an exhausted owl. I mean, I guess you don't have to worry about if you're no such, you get rid of that blocker, but the owl doesn't need to be unexhausted for it to do its thing. It just needs to survive the round. So even an exhausted owl, if no such doesn't want to discard the card at the beginning of the round, he's going to have to deal with it. We've been thinking about this. I wonder if he's got another duelist. He did meditate the time die up earlier. I don't know if I like the duelist attack here. I don't really want to trade a 2-die duelist into a 1-die Lightbringer just to keep my owl unexhausted. We're going to go ahead and boost up the owl. We're going to send this thing in on offense and try and take out a Lightbringer. And it's dead. Let's see. It looks like there might be oh, nope, no reaction. Thought I might see a final cry or something. Okay, so Harold spending the die there, basically frog ping the Lightbringer. But use the divine die to do it. Not a bad play if you don't have anything else to use that on. And the Fire Archer goes ahead and takes out the Lightbringer, setting it up for a potential mount. So we'll see if treatment wants to play a Lioness or something else from hand to deal with the mount with Mark, but he's not. He's going to go ahead and Shepherd. Oops. See what the Shepherd pulls back. Treatment looking through his discard pile here to find something. Goes with a Sonic. So Swordsman back to hand. but not on the board yet. So let's see if treatment goes directly for the mount here to try and get it on the board before Harold has the Sonic to threaten it. But even with, if just a mount's on the board, I don't know that you want to spend a mark swing or Sonic Swordsman just to mark kill and Imperium out with nothing else. But going with a Shepherd of his own. So we have back-to-back Shepherds. No such going for the Old Salt, which will kill this Shepherd on the board. So let's see if treatment wants to try and get some value out of it first. That would put some more Fallen tokens out there, but in order to play those zombies, No Such will have to meditate for them. So that might be something treatment's willing to do. Let's see. I don't know that treatment wants to go too much farther behind on dice right now. He's already behind one. This is somewhere we might see an attack. No, just an owl. Again, so that's not terrible. Owl's gonna peek at the Old Salt, so already knew that was there. That's a poor owl. That owl needs to have its eyes checked. Gotta find some better cards next time. But still, efficient unit into what I assume will be a board of 1/1s and maybe an Empyrean mount for No Such. I would think he'd want to play the mount at some point during this round because it uses up 2 basic dice. And we see a meditate from hand. The treatment did have the duelist. He was thinking earlier about that duelist. But meditates it to get a charm power. And Shepherd going right into the owl, who takes the damage, does not counter, obviously. But now 2 different targets to mount up here. And let's see if treatment tries to go after this Shepherd. I think that's probably the better of the mount targets. The Shepherd combats the mill plan. It gets a card back from the discard pile. And right now that's where, I mean, treatment's down 7 cards. There's another owl. This one sees a blood archer, so that's a little more informative. That 1 wound on the owl can be dealt with by the blood archer. So knowing that's there, now I think treatment is a bit less inclined to want to kill those allies and turn on the chance of transfusion. Just kind of showing how powerful that peer ability from the 3-eyed owl really can be. And that information can be so strong and just so important, right? Treatment's going to play the rest of this round differently now, knowing that Blood Archer's in hand. But there's the Old Salt. That takes out the owl. And spends the only ceremonial die that No Such had up that was not basic. So any more ceremonial stuff now, including that Blood Archer, he's going to have to meditate for. But Demona's starting to build up a little bit of a board advantage here. But here's the mark, and the Shepherd going to take out the Old Salt. And that loads up the chance. So I don't know how much I like this. Now I expect to see that Blood Archer come down and do some work. That thing is going to be a powerhouse now, backed up by Chant of Transfusion. It is going to mow down these 2 life units that Harold has. But we do see the Consume Soul. So that does reset Hunter's Mark and heal Harold for 2. But I mean, even a Sonic Swordsman into this Blood Archer is going to be rough. Especially with it not being on the board yet. If No Such gets the Blood Archer down right now, he's going to get a Blood Archer down and a wound on to the swordsman. So I guess they would just trade. Maybe that's not the worst thing ever. Let's see. No chat going on. No, he meditates the blood archer from his hand. So that's gone, taking away that information, and plays the old salt instead. So valuing the old salt over the blood archer here. And gonna try and use the rest of his dice, if he uses them at all, on Fallen. That's all he's got left over here. Or well, I guess a mount. So I guess we'll probably see an Empyrean mount and maybe one Fallen summon. So this might be the point here where where No Such goes ahead and plays the Sonic. That way, if the mount does come out, then he's ready to mark and kill it. Transfusion is loaded and ready with this old salt to either take an owl down or wound the Sonic, though, so that the Sonic would also go down if it killed an Empyrean mount. Let's see what we got here. Treatment in the tank a little bit. Not sure what else he has in hand. Obviously has the Lioness book down as well. Lioness would be enough to take out an Empyrean mount that hits the board. But this is getting a little bit dicey, at least for Harold. Dimona is building up a bit of a board here. I expect to see a mount and a Fallen summon. That's 5 guys. Harold's going to take out one of those probably, but with Hunter's Mark. And that owl probably dies to transfusion. So I think we could be going into round 4 with Dimona on 4 units and Harold on nothing, but Dimona into fatigue damage here. So Harold gonna go Lioness. And there's a Meditate up. So I wonder, that could be a Golden Veil. It could also be a Violinist. Violinist would be pretty good here, I think. Especially if Harold does summon some zombies. Or I'm sorry, if Dimona summons some zombies. Gonna have to Meditate to do that, though. And only 4 cards left in deck. And nothing on the spell board I think Dimona really wants to get rid of. And here's a Transfusion. Both transfusions are going to take this Lioness down. Okay, so taking out the Lioness, leaving the owl alive. But the owl, I don't think the owl's going to survive one way or another. Let's see what Harold wants to do. Could be a pass here. Eight cards ahead. There's the Violinist, so I did make that call. Not going to wait for the zombies. Going to go ahead and take out the Shepherd with the Violinist, which I think between the two is the right unit to kill here. Again, the Shepherd is the one that slows down the mill plan. So recurring that Shepherd with the mount, I think, is better for Dimona. But here comes the Empyrean mount. So I expect this mount to kill the owl. And then Old Salt will get in for 2. And we'll see if, there's a Meditation. Takes out the Lightbringer book, so we're going to see some zombies as well. And the zombies will take out the Violinist and also get Harold for 1. So, yeah, we're going to go into round 4 with Dimona up. An ally, a mount, and 2 zombies. With 2 tokens on both Fallen books against Harold. And the life total is going to be, Dimona's going to be up 1 life, but then it's going to take 2 fatigue damage, so Harold will be up a life here. Yep, there's the Old Salt. I expect we'll summon some zombies. No, we're going to recur. Gonna get back a shepherd. So takes 1 damage for that. Saves herself 1 fatigue. It really didn't matter. Does roll some knives though here. That's big for Dimona. Harold does have the magic siphon to spin one of those down. If she doesn't play the shepherd here, Harold can also spin that divine die down in order to block or force a meditation to play the shepherd of lost souls. Here's the zombies. I'm going to put 2 zombies out. One of those will probably die right away to the violinist. We'll see. Well, I don't know. Maybe that you leave the violinist up as a blocker. There's an owl. We're going to check it. Just reveals the shepherd. So again, bad owl there. It must be that same one from before. And there's the magic siphon. Spinning up. Let's see what. A divine die. And I would guess we spin down the divine die on Dimona's side to force the meditation for the shepherd. But let's see. And we do. No other magic siphons in the bin, by the way, for Harold. This deck does, I think, run 3 magic siphon. So we could be seeing some more magic siphon come down. Here's an attack on the violinist. I would just trade that here, yeah, and he does. Basically the same thing as the violinist shooting one. So I think Harold happy to make that trade. See if we see another magic siphon come down here. Just keep the spin down pressure on these dice. As Dimona is running out of resources to use to meditate. Oh, Creve Dog's out of here. See you later, Creve Dog. Now we're going to go with another owl. That owl finds a Wayward Knight. So that's a pretty good draw here for Dimona. That's a nice basic sync, and it puts an ally back in the draw pile. So I think a good card here for Dimona to have late in this game. So, saves her on meditation and recurs a card. It's basically a very bad card for Harold. But there goes an owl to the old salt attack. And Dimona using the board advantage here to keep these owls down. Does not want to, if we go into another round, have to deal with multiple owls. And there's the magic siphon from Harold. Does he activate it right away? I would assume so. I don't know why you play it if you don't plan on using it right away. No, he doesn't though. He's gonna wait. That's interesting. I mean, knowing that Wayward Knight is in hand, there's a bunch of basic saints. I think I would have spun that ceremonial power down, and No Such Method realizing that this is probably their last chance to get to use the ceremonial power before it gets spun down, is going to go ahead and just suck a ritualist up to hand right now. And swing a zombie in. I assume this just gets through. See if treatment wants to block with his owl here. Yeah, Dimona can spend 5 basic dice this round between the Wayward Knight and an Empyrean Mount. So doesn't really need to meditate much at all. I think the right play is spin down that ceremonial power so she can't use it. Yeah, I mean, Dimona can play Wayward Knight, Empyrean Mount, and 2 Fallen, even if Magic Siphon goes off here, and doesn't need to meditate at all. And that's only spends 1 card from hand. So Magic Siphon does go off now. Looks like we spun a time die up on the treatment side. And I would think we see a ceremonial go down. It does. So we're not going to see the third owl here because we don't have a charm die up. We're going to see the lioness. So I think the mount is just going to take this lioness down. But he might value the owl instead again for the mill. But here goes the mount. I'm guessing now it's going to take the lioness. Yep. Because he waited to attack there. That makes sense. Lioness down, mount still alive. That's kind of Demona's bread and butter is killing tutus. She's very good at that with her Wayward Knights and her Empyrean mounts. Taking that 2 damage, and then you, with the big recover on these guys, you can't let them survive to the end of the round or they just come back. So again, treatment ahead on cards, ahead 5 cards and 2 life, but quite behind on board and dice. So I could see a pass here. Demona wouldn't take any fatigue, but she would lose a card. And no such thing tick-tock, right? Only 14 minutes left on the timer in this game. Although if it goes to sudden death, I think that favors Herald. There's the third owl. We see the Wayward Knight again. So Ritualist coming out, grabbing Transfusion from the discard pile and keeping it in hand. No such realizing that he has a couple different ways to combat the mill strategy, and that's one way to get a unit down without losing a card. 2 shadows taking out the old salt. There's a good way to get rid of an ally without turning on the chance. So we see a 2 shadows and a pass from the treatment. Here comes an attack into the owl with the Ritualist. That's just going to get sponged up. And I'm betting we see another pass from treatment here. He's going to be happy to pass with 2 owls on board, I would think. Being this far behind on dice. You are giving the Wayward Knight, I'm sorry, the Empyrean Mount, the recover by doing this if you pass, but I'm not sure you want to take another main action here. No, there's the pass. So back to no such, can still put 2 zombies on the board without a meditation, can still play a Wayward Knight without a meditation, and can play an Empyrean Mount without a meditation. So there's the mount on the Ritualist. And that's kind of interesting. Recurring that Ritualist with the mount will allow him to discard the Transfusion to meditate and then recur it with the Ritualist. So that's an interesting kind of combat to the mill strategy here. So let's see what treatment wants to do. He has his spell board is tapped out. He can't do anything there. We know he has a Sonic Swordsman in hand. But content to pass again. Let's see if the mount takes out an owl here. I don't think either of these owls are going to survive the round. I think they're all dead. But they are sponging up some damage and drawing this game out. There's some zombies. So that Magic Siphon play earlier, that non-play earlier, right? Leaving that ceremonial die up, allowing Demona to pick up a Ritualist from the discard. Feeling bigger and bigger here. That would have cost her another card to do that. And I don't know if Demona does that, if it costs her a card to meditate back up. But here's a meditation for Herald, discarding a Violinist from hand. And there's the Sonic Swordsman. So getting that big alert body down and Yeah, the Empyrean Mount going to go ahead and swing in here. Force the swordsman to block. And kill the mount. Gets the ritualist back to hand. So just like that, Dimona now ahead on cards. How did that happen? Right? Remember when Herald was so far ahead on cards? Dimona actually ahead of the Herald now on cards. And Herald gonna mark an exhausted Fallen here. I assume take it out with the swordsman to double exhaust the Empyrean Mount. And preserve the Sonic Swordsman's health. That's a pass. So mark the exhausted Fallen and pass. Huh. This is gonna get guarded. This is interesting. I wonder what we're doing here. Mark the Fallen and pass. I think the swordsman has to attack. Right? It has to attack. Right now. All right, there's the attack. Exhausts a Fallen. Okay, so basically telling Dimona, look, if you want to kill my owls, you're going to meditate for it. That's what we're saying here. If you want to kill my swordsman and kill my owl, you're going to meditate. So there's the transfusion meditate. I wonder if we see the ritualist here. No, we're going to go with Fallen. I thought maybe we'd see a ritualist to pick the transfusion book back up. But we're going to go with Fallen. They're going to take out the 2 wounded units. So there they go. And now Dimona still has a Wayward Knight to play and can kill that owl and have a really big board going into the next round. There's the Wayward Knight. See if we see a side action charge. I guess it probably doesn't matter here. Again, getting that book back, or getting that ally back. So we grab an Old Salt. There's the attack. That's going to kill the owl. So we're even on cards. Dimona all of a sudden has come back, right? Even on cards, 1 life down, but a massive board compared to Herald. So No Such has done a fantastic job getting back into this game on the card side with a combination of Ritualist, Ceremonial Power, Wayward Knight, mounts, recurring cards, really showing how kind of resilient to mill Dimona can be. Owl peers out the Ritualist. Again, not a great owl usage there. Magic Siphon being used. Gonna spin up 2 divine dice. So I think there could be a meteor coming, and I think No Such knows it. And here comes a big swing. Maybe, oh, maybe not. Let's see. I'm guessing there's a meteor coming. If we don't see a big swing out here. Oh, just the rate. Is that a charge? I think that's a main action attack with the Wayward Knight. I think this has to be meteor. If it's there. I know you go down on dice a bit, but yeah, there's meteor. You have to do it. It's not great because it turns a bunch of stuff on, but I don't know that you've got a choice here. You got to even up this board somehow. There's the Shepherd going to pull the Wayward Knight back. And again, this mill resiliency that we're seeing out of Dimona is really kind of impressive. People kind of dump on Wayward Knight and saying it's not a great unique, but just being a basic sync for 3 and pulling back an ally, it's such a good late game card here when you're fighting against fatigue damage. And No Such doing a really good job of showcasing that. So Harold gonna Magic Siphon again. Spins up a charm, and then it looks like we missed a Magic Siphon spin there. So we're gonna manual something. Treatment looks like gets another charm power with that siphon. So spinning up 2 of their own dice. And again, I think that's right because again, we have Wayward Knight and we have Mount available to Dimona. So we just need to meditate. And we again, the owl's not helping here. They're revealing another Wayward Knight. So here's the swing from the Shepherd. And Dimona gonna be happy to mount this up. See if Harold wants to kill this with a violinist or something, but I don't know that we have any left, and I'm not sure Harold wants to play too many more cards from hand, but Harold can only spend 5 dice on the spell board, so gonna have to. There's a third Magic Siphon. Used immediately, spins up, looks like a Divine die, and this is probably a spin down. And down with a Ceremonial. So game's certainly not over, although I think Dimona has the advantage currently. Here's the Empyrean Mount. With nothing on the board to deal with it. Harold playing a second Linus book. I don't know if I like that play. It takes more, it gives more fatigue damage to Harold. And you can't activate both Linuses this round, so... Oh, there's the the reverse chant fusion again that they'll manual mode to fix. With the old salt coming in there to double ping the owl. I'm very impressed by the resiliency of this Dimona. But we're gonna start talking about sudden death. I think this game's gonna get there. Only 3 minutes left. Maybe Dimona kind of realizing that quickly attacks the owl with the old salt. We'll see if Harold wants to guard. I doubt it. Thinking about it though, does not guard. Owl goes down. And Damona's got really strong control over the board right now. With these. Another swordsman. But again, I expect the Mount to take this swordsman down to 1 life. Yeah, here it goes. And the zombies are going to clean it up. Yep, swordsman down to 1. This ought to be a pass from treatment. Wondering if that last card in hand is a Consume Soul. I don't think there's 3 in the discard. I can't make this window any bigger, but I don't believe any of those cards at the bottom are Consume Soul. So I think that last card in hand is probably a Consume Soul. Here's the zombies. So we could see a Mark swing from the Sonic Swordsman to exhaust out a zombie. Gonna kill the old salt. That gives Dimona more zombies. I don't know if I like this play. It does keep the swordsman alive and force a Fallen to attack into it, but there's Consume. But Harold staring down 5 fatigue. And gonna guard here, I'm sure. And then you get 2 more zombies out. which are going to clean up the swordsman, and then Harold's going to take 4 damage. I think that's game, right? Harold's going to take 4 here to go to 9, and then 5 fatigue to go to 14, and then Dimona swings top around. So I think that's it. But we'll watch it play out here. Yeah, the Fallen engine in this Dimona shell where it can resist the mill it's tough to deal with. It's got a better long game than these Heralds do, than this Herald deck does, unfortunately. There's the Rayward. It gets back an old salt. Not that it matters. We're going to go ahead and swing here. That's 4. And then a couple passes are going to end this game. Probably before we get to sudden death. Yeah, here's the swing. So that's going to do it. Good game to both players. I think even though the Herald looked strong early, it's just that deck is designed to go into the long game. And this Dimona is just very, very strong end of game with the Fallen engine and all of those basic syncs and Shepherds and Rayward Knights to recur and fight off the mill. So very, very good game. Great, great game from both sides. And again, really impressed with the Dimona's ability to turn this game around. So, just a really cool understanding of the tools that Dimona has. And I think she's a lot better positioned in the meta, in this slower meta game where there's just a lot less burn. Her 16 life isn't quite such a liability when there's not a bunch of big burn decks flying around. So, very tough matchup, I think, for the Herald, but well played on both sides. And that's going to do it here for my commentary on this game. So this has been KC. I've been at home. You've been listening to KC at home, courtesy of the Jankyard. Thanks again, Schmendrix, for setting up the technology to record this. And I hope your kids got some toast. To the rest of you guys, peace out. We'll see you next time.